Hey artist friends, welcome to the last Menagerie of the year, a little collaboration between Laura, Erin, myself, and a guest artist, and this month we have Char joining us. Our strange collection of things include carving a stamp, using a colored ink pad, and a tip-in on our journal pages. I began this month by gessoing my pages, and then I grabbed these two ledger sheets that were in my recent House of Books subscription box. If you aren't familiar with a House of Books, I'll have all that information below in the description box, including a coupon code to save money on their a la carte items and their monthly subscription boxes. So these ledger pages were absolutely perfect in size. They fit these ledger pages the same exact width. So I'm using matte medium on the front and the back to stick them down on my pages, and then I'll trim the bottoms after they're dry. So while you watch me struggle to add these pages to my journal, it was a challenge, I would say, to get them lined up perfectly, and then also to make sure that they were perfectly secure without wrinkles on my pages. I used matte medium on the page of the journal itself and the back of the ledger sheet to help with that, and then put it on the front and the back. But while you watch me do that, let me share with you that this is our last Menagerie of this year, 2022, and we have not made any final decisions about Menagerie for 2023. While we would love to continue, we're just not sure if we're going to, or if Menagerie has kind of run its course. If you've participated in Menagerie in the last couple years and love it, or have some suggestions, or want to be involved, or have an opinion, feel free to send me an email. My email address is on the very last tab on YouTube. I think it's like information or about this channel or something, or send me a direct message on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you if you have an opinion or something to say, or interested, or have ideas. I'd love your input. And second to that, we do have one more plan for January. Beyond that, we're not sure, but we want to do a flip through in January, and I'll share a little bit more about that at the end of the video, so stay tuned to the end to hear more about what we're going to do in January and how you can participate. So now that I've trimmed those lovely ledger pages and they're dry on my journal pages, I'm using some gesso here to kind of like scruff them up a little bit. I love the way gesso looks on old book pages, especially ledger pages. This is adding that first layer of interest to my pages and just kind of allowing me to have the first process of putting stuff on top of these pages. Sometimes it's hard to create on top of these beautiful pages, but adding some gesso kind of starts me in that process. Now I'm adding some just lightly stenciled images. This stencil is from Stencil Girl. I have all the information in my box below. I've found that I enjoy stenciling gesso on my pages as well. You kind of get that ghost of that stencil behind the paint that you add next, or ghost of that stencil behind the paint that you add next. And it's kind of a fun layer of interest to start off my spread. Now I'm grabbing another stencil by Stencil Girl. I thought that these circles might be a little too large for my page to paint on the inside, so I thought that I would trace the inside with this stabilo out in graphite and then end up activating it. I'll add the black first, and then I'm going to activate it with some paint instead of water. I'm very loosely tracing around those circles again with the black Stabilo All pencil, and now I'm going to grab a golden So Flat paint. This has become one of my new favorite colors, red oxide. I don't use a lot of red in my art journaling, but this is a really good happy medium of a red. It's not that bright in your face red, but it's really a gorgeous color. So I'm activating that Stabilo with a little watered down paint instead of just straight water. This is giving those circles some color, kind of giving them a watercolory look, and adding some shadows from that Stabilo that's on there. I'm just continuing to layer that watered down red oxide inside those circles, and then I decided that I need just a few more, so I'm going to begin that same process, grabbing out that stencil, using some of that graphite version of the Stabilo, adding some black and activating it with the paint, watered down paint again. I really love how these circles look on these ledger pages. I love the watery look, the shadowing from the stabilo, and I'm at that point where I'm not sure what to do next because I don't want to ruin my pages. And I'm thinking, can I just stop here? But no, I haven't played with my strange collection of things yet, so next I'm going to figure out what to do. I'm kind of feeling florally again, so I grabbed this dark green paint and also the stencil from Stencil Girl. This is my first attempt at adding something to the pages. It doesn't go as well as I hoped. It just wasn't the right stencil design for these pages. The green wasn't the right color. I tried to help it by adding some other colors and some walnut ink. As you can see here, it just didn't turn out. It doesn't look bad, but it just wasn't what I was going for. So I was like brave and wiped it away. It didn't 100% wipe away, so I grabbed this cleaning paste that I've been using to clean paint off my desk and used it in my journal. I'll have a little picture of it in just a minute here, but it actually helped get all of this paint except for a small spot that I think I didn't have matte medium. There's the paste. That top left-hand corner, I think I didn't have matte medium on my journal page, so the color actually soaked in, but it removed the rest of it. It was amazing. So now I'm going to use a little bit of gesso to disguise just a little bit of that's I don't know, messed up paint look that's on there. But again, I really like the gesso that I added to it, so it's not so bad. But now I'm going to try again with another idea. If you're interested in my miracle cleaning paste, let me know and I'll get you in contact with the lady I purchased it from. You can't see it really well in my video here, but that original flower or leaf shape that I had on those pages kind of left a little bit of color behind on that left side. So I'm trying to add just a little bit of that kind of messed up color on the right. I'm just going to play back and forth here with some of the paint, some gesso, some walnut ink to try to add some of that. It kind of looks more aged and worn maybe on the left, so I'm trying to add some of that to the right. I watered down some stabilo there as well, just to add some of that shadow, shading, kind of more worn look to the pages. Now I'm adding some more walnut ink. It probably was a happy accident in a way what happened before because I really liked the paint that it left behind and what it did to the pages and how I'm solving the process of making them not look so weird like I wiped something away. Next I'm grabbing my gel plate, some turquoise paint, and some leaves that I found in my yard. My original idea, I found these leaves like several days ago and I thought maybe I'd use them for Menagerie. There they are, they're on the left there. It's a flame leaf sumac leaf and it's so gorgeous, and I thought that maybe I could print with it in my art journal or something for Menagerie, but I kind of completely forgot that I'd put those on my desk, and then I remembered and I thought that I would try to print with them, and so I practiced there on the left. I didn't like how it printed, but I loved how that paint looked on the leaf, so I decided to just put the leaves in my journal instead. This was kind of a tedious process that included a lot of heavy gel and then a lot of matte medium. I'm putting that matte medium on top to make sure that they're completely sealed to my pages, but I used lots of bottles and weights and fingers to hold them down to get them secure to my page, and it took a while, but in the end it is so worth it. I'm loving that bright red and that turquoise paint on my leaves. And now it's time to carve my stamp. So I'm thinking I want just a little plus sign graphic that I'm going to stamp around my pages. And then originally I'm going to put 3 pluses here on my carving block. As I started carving, I got tired of it, so I just went with 1 plus sign in the end. So I'm not an expert at carving stamps. I've only done it a few times. I learned in a class with Jean Oliver originally and have carved a couple since, but not a lot. We chose stamp carving this month because it's Carve December, a little challenge I believe was started by Julie Balzer. She is a wonderful stamp carver. So if you want some more information about stamp carving, I highly recommend checking her out and that challenge this month. I played with my stamp a few times and then I carved some more and played with it again and got it how I wanted. And I'm going to stamp it on my page with 3 different colors of distress ink. I don't use distress ink a lot. It's not something like the stamping with it. It's not something I use often, so I'm not super familiar with like how the product reacts, and I had a lot of trouble with it on my journal pages. I think it was wet in some places. I think the matte medium might have affected it. So I ended up wiping some away, stamping it again. They kind of looked funny. And I just seriously struggled with it. So they kind of got like ghosting looking, which was okay, but I didn't love a lot of them. You can see there that they don't look great the next day. So I grabbed some paint and stamped also with some of that yellowish color paint. I forget the color, Mars Yellow, I think. And then also some of that red oxide. I stamped them individually and then also some on top of the distress stamps. In the end, I really like the effect that it gave, but it wasn't my intention to stamp this way. Alright, now it's time to add the third strange collection of things thing is the tip-in. I have this envelope that came in my House of Books subscription and some of their stickers. I'm trying to use this little postcard sticker because I love the writing on it, but the color wasn't exactly right, so in the end I don't use it. And then some of these book bindings also came in my subscription box. That one there that I just added had some teal on it, which, oh my gosh, how perfect is that with my leaves? So I'm just taking some time figuring out my tip in, and I'm going to tip it in with some of this brown gummed packing tape. Now it's not gummed until you activate it with water. I think it works perfectly for like tip-ins and for making no-sew journals with. I originally wanted to rip it so that the edges wouldn't look clean and crisp, but when I ripped it, that gummed part didn't like rip really well. So in the end I had to cut it to make sure that my tip-in stuck in, but I solved this problem by adding some ripped pieces on top of those perfect pieces. You'll see that in just a minute. That really added to that distressed look. There you go. It just looked too perfect and it fit with my journal page, so I solved it by adding a second layer of that brown activated tape, and I'm also adding it to the back as well. And here I am playing again, trying to figure out how to layer my focal point image on top of the tip-in. I used some of the leftover ledger pages and ripped them apart. I'm layering some of those book spines as well to try to figure out my composition here. Adding just a little bit more packing tape to the back of there because I wasn't happy with how it looked. And now I'm going to add my little collaged composition on top of my tip-in here with some matte medium. I decided to rip up a few more little sections of that ledger page to add to my little collage. And as much as I wanted to use that postcard sticker, it just didn't work right, so I grabbed some more of that ledger page to layer behind that little book spine. I've also been playing with adding some book spines to the left, so to make sure that kind of that theme carried on the left side. You can see the one that I left there. I'm going to play a little bit more and end up adding a couple small pieces. And just a really quick side note, sometimes a House of Books has packages of these little brown book spines on their website a la carte, so watch for them because they are amazing. Now that that right side is done, I'm adding a couple small pieces of that book spine to the left just to kind of bring that theme over there. And now it's time to kind of bring it all together. I'm adding some watered down gesso on top of my tip in there because it's also in my background layers. I wanted to make sure that this blended in and looked like it belonged on the pages. So I'm just adding little bits of that watered down gesso in places. I'm also going to add it on top of those book spines on the left and a little bit on the right as well. I'm feeling like I also want to add some words on top of this photograph. I looked through all my stickers and really couldn't find a saying that I liked. So the underpaper that I have below this journal is also from a house of books, and I found some of the funnest little sentences in it. It's about the opera, and it describes different operas in it, and some of the language is so funny. So I found a little phrase that just like made me laugh and kind of went with the photo and cut it out of that page and stuck it to my journal. It says, "The proud lady offers hand and heart." If you ever happen to find or see this book, it's called Stories of the Operas. I highly recommend picking it up because the Stories of the Operas have some amazing sentences to cut out, and the paper is a really cool consistency as well. It's a really great weight for journaling. So I decided my tip-in needed a little bit of turquoise on it as well. The turquoise was a little too bright for me, so I blended it with a little bit of watered down black stabilo to kind of make it look a little more old and grungy. And I'm just watering it down and adding to the front and the back of my tip-in. And then I decided to add just a little tiny bit of that watered down turquoise and stabilo across my journal pages just to move the eye around with that turquoise color. And that's it. Here's my completed journal page, carving a stamp, using colored ink and a tip-in, and this officially completes my journal for Menagerie. I actually used the whole journal because I skipped every other page in it knowing it would get thick. With that, I'd like to thank you all so much for joining Laura, Aaron, myself, and our guest artists on this little Menagerie journey that we began back in 2020. While we don't yet know what the future holds for Menagerie next year, we do know that in January, we are going to do journal flip-throughs. The normal first Wednesday in January, 3 p.m. Central, we will post flip-throughs of our 2022 journals on our YouTube pages, and we invite you to do the same. I would love to see Menagerie from you as well. If you don't have a YouTube channel, feel free to share on Instagram a post with all of the images of the Menagerie pages that you completed this year. So just a reminder, first Wednesday in January, 3 p.m. Central, post on Instagram, YouTube, or both all of your Menagerie flip-throughs or pictures from this year of 2022 of Mixed Media Menagerie. You can use the hashtag Mixed Media Menagerie 2022 so we can find you all. Again, thank you so much for following along. We love to see what you create for our December challenge. Make sure that you post it on Instagram or YouTube using the hashtag MMMDEC22. I hope you have a wonderful December, and we'll see you again for our Menagerie post in 2023, that first Wednesday of January.